Hello and welcome to Give and Take, the Virtues in Life. And today's topic is Sacred Lotus Blossom. And we have a wonderful guest who will share about her wonderful creation that she has started. So welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Precious Neferatum, and I'm the founder of Sacred Lotus Blossom. It's a rites of passage for our daughters aged 7 to 12.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm honored to be
speak
here.
Speak a little louder.
Yes.
So it's from 7 to 12?
Yes, so it's a rites of passage for our daughters aged 7 to 12.
Lovely, lovely. So tell us how you got started and why you started this.
So I actually went through my own rites of passage with Queen Afua and during her rites of passage is Sacred Woman. And I entered that journey because you get to a point in life where you just feel like there's something more, that a bigger purpose that you're here for. And during my personal rites of passage and self-discovery, I felt this pulling that there was something more that I should be doing in particular. And in my journaling at home and my meditations, I would be reminded of the girls, that there were girls that needed information, the information that I had acquired over my life's journey and what I was receiving at the time. And during my rites, there was an exercise that we were called to do in class where we were asked to journal, ask a question, and to begin to journal to unfurl the answer.
Nice.
That was the one class where some of the other sisters in the class brought their daughters in. And toward the end of the class, everything that I had described in my journalings regarding the curriculum and the name of the program was actually described by Queen Afua as something that would be wonderful for the girls to have. And I thought, that's what I wrote in my book. And it created a really wonderful mentorship opportunity for me to create this work.
Yeah, I've heard about Queen Afua, but I really didn't know. I have a friend actually, I guess her name must be Afua and not Afua. But she never corrected us. So you're going to see this, Afua. So you're going to let me know, is it Afua or is it Afua? So I've heard about Queen Afua and not really knowing the depths of this wonderful creation that she started. And so it's like a rites of passage for women?
Yes, it is.
And so can you give us some of the process of how that works?
Sure. So it's a 12-week journey. And essentially with Sacred Lotus Blossom, what we do is in each of the 12 weeks, we cover a different principle, a different gateway. So we start with Sacred Flower, and in Sacred Flower, we discussed how our blossoms, our girls, why they're sacred and what that means, and our connection to nature, and how it takes it takes the seed, it takes the soil, it takes the sun and the water and the care in order for that flower to flourish. And we go through the life cycle of what, the bud and the bloom and the fully grown blossom and what it takes to get through that, and how everyone's role, no matter how big or small, contributes to it in a way where it creates an opportunity for you to fully thrive and be who you were created to be.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you.
And so it's a 12-week program that you go through. Rites of passage. And so at the end of it, what is the what is the end process of it?
So there is a ceremony, there will be a ceremony. So this is actually my first cycle of Sacred Lotus Blossom. I started it in October, and we'll actually have our ascension ceremony along with the Sacred Women, which that's going to be amazing. And so what they will do is they will each share a piece of, I call them tools. There was a song by Erykah Badu, Bag Lady, and in that song she's referencing all of the trauma, all of the baggage that we carry. And so what I've done with the girls is remind them that every single week, when we come together, the things that we discuss are tools that
Right.
they carry with them. So whether it's acknowledging that there are sacred foods, there are foods that fuel
Yes.
your body, there's alkaline water, there's eating green and eating from the earth. These
Right.
are things that you're called to bring to school, to share with your friends. We do food prep. You know, I have someone come in another sister who came in and spoke about alkaline water and putting chlorophyll in the water and what that does to the body or for the body. We do meditation and breath work, and
good.
we actually do fire breaths, and we talk about, you know, in the beginning.
What was that you said?
Fire breaths,
What
which
is
is
fire breaths?
very intentional,
Okay.
abdominal. So I'll just
Okay.
It's a deep
I just
breathing.
did that.
Yes,
Last
yes,
week, yes.
yes.
In a
And
hatha
so,
yoga session, we
yes,
were doing that. Yes. Okay.
And it helps to, for the girls, for the blossoms, we share. You know, what tool did you use this week?
Right.
You know, if you have an exam and you don't feel confident, I remind them that
Right.
our thoughts create our feelings, our
That's
feelings create our words, and our
Absolutely.
words become our reality. And so with that cycle, how do you manage that? How do you
Right.
manage the thought before it becomes the feeling? Because if you're thinking you're not going to do well, then you're going to feel
Right.
anxious, and then what you're going to project is that angst,
Right.
as opposed to using a tool.
Oh, right.
Drinking
and I just
your
mentioned
water,
that. Yes,
doing
I
your
just mentioned
breaths.
that in a meditation session on Tuesday, saying the same thing, that it's the intention and you the breath. I had them do some breathing before they go into the meditation. I did a nice little commentary with them, and they expressed how wonderful it was,
Yes.
and because it's setting that intention. So I told them to find a virtue and work with that virtue for themselves. So every day is a renewal.
Yes.
So not New Year. Every day is a renewal. Every
Yes.
second, every moment is a renewal. So we get a chance to do things over.
Yes.
So I wanted them to just do something like that. So similar to what you're saying.
Yes, yes.
We was talking about the lotus flower.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that a bit.
So the name Sacred Lotus Blossom is very intentional. While the name was given to me in meditation, understanding nature and appreciating how we are all from nature. We wouldn't be here if we weren't a part of it and a contributor to it all at the same time. And
Right.
when we don't acknowledge that, we have things like global warming, and we have
And
things
that's why
like
we shouldn't
the
curse
disease.
the weather, right?
Exactly, because it's
we're a part
all
of
a
it.
part of
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
And so in that, in acknowledging that we're all a part of nature, we're called to, and we're reminded, you know, ancient Egyptian history, everything on the temple walls are reminders of nature. You know, you look at Ma'at, you look at the feather, and you look at the wings, and it's reminding you for your heart to be as light as a feather.
Exactly.
Those wings signify the levity that we're called to walk with, and it is with renewal every day. Yeah, and with the lotus in particular, the lotus we were discussing is a deeply beautiful flower. It's very beautiful, it's very fragrant, but the symbolism behind it is something that's important, and we stress with the lotus blossoms, which is that you only find a lotus in the swamps, in marsh, in mud, and we don't often want the mud, but we want to enjoy the lotus. But the lotus is rooted in mud.
Right.
It's rooted in strife and challenge, in the filth of a thing.
Exactly.
But yet it blooms.
It stays beautiful and precious,
It
right?
stays beautiful. And what you find is that when debris falls onto the lotus, it secretes such magical oils that whatever lands on it balls up and rolls right off. And if you think about it, that's what we're called to do. Challenge comes,
exactly.
and we're to just let it roll right off.
That's it.
And
Brush it off.
yeah, and at night, when the sun is going down, the lotus actually closes, and that's the time for restoration and renewal.
And renewal.
And then it opens again, just as beautiful as the day before in the morning.
And people see lotus flower, but I wanted you to discuss it a bit because I don't think they really understand the depth of the lotus flower, and you shared it very well.
Thank you.
Very nicely. And I was telling you in our teaching, our daily teaching, the Raj Yoga meditation, where we are taught to be like a lotus flower.
Yes.
And to stay above the mud. They're part of it, but you don't need to go into it. As a lotus flower does, whatever comes, you just go choo choo. It goes back to where it comes from. Challenges will come, but when you've got a good method to deal with those challenges, then life is not so muddy.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So, how long have you started the Sacred Lotus Blossom?
So Sacred Lotus Blossom began in October of this year, of 2018.
Oh, okay,
So it's brand new, baby. I received the structure of the program about a year ago. It was in October of last year that I had the vision to create the program, and
isn't that lovely?
Making the curriculum and coming up with the website, and really my background is business. I'm a hospital executive by day, and so I wanted to have the presentation of Sacred Lotus Blossom really represent the vision that I had for the program.
Okay,
and
lovely.
So it's been
and
amazing.
So it's a divine inspiration, like you was asking me about the TV show.
Yes.
This too was a divine inspiration, and you said you can feel and see that divine inspiration, because I really tried to keep the integrity of it. I've had all sorts of things come at me, do this, do that, and I say no, because this is something very sacred that I need to do, and I need to do it right.
Yes.
So, and it comes with my personality as well, because then it would not be as it should be. And so I infuse my personality with colors and laughter and you know, all those wonderful things to give it a part of me, as well as that divine energy that's my partner in this.
Yes, yes. That energy is so important, right?
It is.
And when you receive a vision, it's about making sure that it is you, because it's given to you.
That's
you were
right.
created for it.
Exactly.
And so to deviate from that would make it a little less authentically yours. Yes.
Yeah, because then if I change me, then it's not really a joint venture.
Yes.
It's one person. You have two people in a business, and one of them decided to change. You don't really have the authenticity there anymore.
Yes.
So I try to just enjoy it and just be it, and I'm having fun with it.
Wonderful. And that's the key.
Yeah, I'm having fun with it. What I wanted to say too now, actually, while we're here, let's look at some of the pictures that you have, and we can discuss that. Now let's talk about this one here.
Yes, so these are our Sacred Lotus Blossoms. There's actually one more who joins us online. And this is our first day. So that's myself, a bunch of our blossoms, and Queen Afua on the far right.
Okay.
And so this was our first class. Yes.
Okay.
Which is a very exciting
nice.
time.
Yeah, very lovely.
And what they're holding is actually their journal. So they have journal. When they register, they receive a Sacred Lotus Blossom journal with the branding and logo on it, as well as T-shirts, which they wear.
And it looks like some sort of a flower they have in
Yes. So the first class, this was the first class, so it's Sacred Flower, Sacred, and so these flowers represented the different phases of the blooming. So the lily was the easiest one, because you have buds, you have blooms, and then you have the fully
Right, they're a very nice
so
flower,
we covered each phase.
Lovely. And we'll look at the next one right now. Okay.
So we had the honor in Sacred Movement, which was about the 4th week in, to Queen Afua has created a womb yoga program. And she was teaching our blossoms womb yoga and breath and movement. And it's just so vital to understand the power of that womb space, and even in our daughters, the power of controlling the breath and understanding how what we think and feel becomes what we birth, what we create. Everything is our creation in one way or another.
That's right.
And that's what this photo
And I'm glad that you had shared about the thoughts. I was sharing that also, that our thoughts go first before even our words. So if our thoughts are in that elevated place, then we can, our words will be perfect.
Yes.
Our words will be divine. And we just have to know that. And so that's why I try not to get caught up in having any negative thoughts about anyone or anything, or even myself. Because, and definitely not let words release from my lips, because once it's out there, it's out there.
Yes.
And I've seen that in my interaction with myself and others. I'll say, everything's going to be okay, and it always is.
Yes.
I've had a great 99.99%
accuracy rate.
percentage rate, because my intentions are pure. When your intentions are pure, then you bring to life that purity. And so, yeah. Just so wonderful. We'll look at the next picture. Yes. Okay.
So this is an image of our circle, and here you'll see the dark green on the center table.
Yes.
The center, we're sitting on the floor, the center area, and this was actually ta'ert, which is sacred food. And so what we do is when we open, I received an opening meditation, and it's acknowledgement of the blossoms. And here we always pour libation to our ancestors, and we talk about who ancestors are and why we acknowledge them. And then we just go through the week's lesson. So this is just a picture of that journey.
Okay, so we have about 6 girls there?
Yeah, in this class there were 6. There are 11 registered, but depending on the day.
Right.
Some
Very
are
nice.
online.
This is so wonderful for children to get that foundation very early, for them to understand who they are, understand their bodies, understand that they're spirit, that they're soul, and that their body is very sacred, and they need to protect it.
Yes. Yes.
And understand that it should not be just, put out there just like that, just for
Yes.
any old person to do what they want to do. Tell me some more things, Precious, about what you've done so far and how it's going.
Sure. So another one of the weeks we covered sacred healing. And in sacred healing, in each week there is a structured curriculum that I created. And essentially the curriculum starts with meditation.
Okay.
That was, and just to back up, I wanted to just acknowledge that a traditional African rites of passage isn't 7 to 12 years old. It's actually a rite of passage going into womanhood, which would really begin around 12 and go to about 14, 15. It's going into womanhood.
Okay.
It was important for me to acknowledge that in the world that we live in, with access to technology and information, 13 and 14 is too late to begin
Absolutely, I agree
to
with that.
introduce these concepts. It's not too late per se, but what I wanted to do was to create something much earlier. And when I would think about my inner child, 7 was the age where it would have been different for me to have received this information as opposed to a preteen. So that's why we cover that 7 to 12-year-old time frame, as well as my daughter was 7.
Good, yes.
But sacred healing, Sekhmet, is what we do is we start with pouring libations in our meditation to just quiet our mind. We always have a healthy drink. So usually peppermint and eucalyptus essential oil in water with chlorophyll or something along those lines. Always acknowledging the curative properties of what we're doing. We revisit the previous week and check in on Lotus work, which is the mother-daughter or We actually have a few sisters who registered their daughters, so sister-daughter work that's done at home, because this can't continue.
And I bet you those relationships are very good.
They start out wonderfully and they're strengthened immensely because of the Lotus work. There's work that's done at home that creates accountability for both the blossom to remind mom or big sister, remember, we're not eating meat this week. Remember, we got to do our meditations. And with Sacred Healing, they had a magnificent time because we talked about, again, that we're a part of nature. So we discuss who Sekhmet is in Kemetic, you know, in the Kemetic system, and what those elements represent. You know, it represents the fire, because Sekhmet is, you know, has components of Ra, which is the sun god, and we talk about that piece and what it all means and how it all isn't polytheism, but really, these are all elements that are within us.
That's it, yeah.
And once we acknowledge that this exists, I am all of these things. I am a mother. As a mother, I have to be a healer. I have to know, uh-oh, you have a tickle in your throat. Okay, even if it's simply get the honey and the lemon, I have to know what to do.
Exactly, exactly. But before we move forward, I want you to mention your website so that people will be able to reach you.
Yes, so the website is really simple. It's www.sacredlotusblossom.org.
Okay, very good.
And it's the same name to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. It's simply Sacred Lotus Blossom.
Very good.
Yes.
Actually, I think we have like 2 more pictures. We'll look at that right now. Okay.
So this is some of the promotional material. This was Tahuti. Tahuti was petal number 1, which is technically the second gateway. And it speaks about speaking words of power and life to your child. Beautiful. So this was some marketing information to not only remind our daughters, but to remind the adults that it's about speaking life. If we want to have them be their most vibrant selves, we have to speak life and words of power to our children.
And the next one. Okay, and this is the
Yes, so this is additional promotional information. So it just speaks to the fact that, you know, Sacred Lotus Blossom was inspired by Sacred, you know, Queen Afua's Sacred Woman, rites of passage, and this is just the branding and the marketing that really personified what we're about in Sacred Lotus Blossom. And registration is ongoing. Because it's a 12-week journey, we'll continue with rolling admission and registration.
Right, and you know, you mentioned something about it was time to not eat meat and whatever, and because I'm personally a vegan, and people don't understand the depth of why, and you touched on it because the vibrations of the food, you know. But anyway, I want to, before we go, the viewers can see this wonderful setup here, and I thought with you coming on, this was an excellent thing to do, and you agreed that you would like to participate. And so KWANZAA starts on December 26th and goes through January 1st. And I personally used to celebrate it when I had a whole family unit. I don't have that. One's here, one's there, and things happen. And so I wanted to, it was coming very strong to me that I need to pay homage to KWANZAA this year and share about some of the aspects of KWANZAA. And so I do have a write-up, because as I was saying, I do not want to miss anything, because this is a very sacred setup, and I want to make sure that I do it right. So I'm just going to, hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right, so KWANZAA is a celebration of family, community, and culture. First of all, you will see there's a mat, and the mat is called a mkeka. It's placed down first, and then as you can see in the middle there, you have the kanara. And in the kanara are the candles, and I'll talk about in a minute in regards to what each candle means. Also, you also have fruit, which represents the crops. And you spoke about libation earlier, and there's a cup for libation, honoring the ancestors. I'm doing well without even looking at it, great. And then they also have corn, and the corn, even though there's not family, there's not children in the family, family is a collective thing. Children are collectively a part of the community. So the 2 ears of corn represent the children. So I was sharing how I went all the way. I wanted to have everything intact because I wanted it to be sacred. So I mentioned the mkeka, and the 7 candles are called Mishuma Saba. The colors of Kwanzaa are black, red, and green. Black for the people, red for the struggle, and green for the future and hope that comes from their struggle. Very beautiful. Therefore, there is 1 black candle, 3 red, and 3 green candles. These are Mishuma Saba, the 7 candles, and they represent the 7 principles. The black candle represents the first principle. And so at this time, I'm going to light the first candle. So this is Umoja. So that's it. So we'll light the first candle. This is the black candle that represents the people. Okay. And that's placed in the center of the Kanara, as you see that. The red candle, the principles of Kujichagulia, self-determination, and it starts from this side, from the far end. And I will light this one here. So this is Kujichagulia, self-determination, and that's the second one that gets lit on the second day. Okay, so that's, let me get this right, Kujichagulia, self-determination. Next one is Ujamaa, and Precious is going to light that one, and it's cooperative economics. Yeah, there you go. Got it?
Let's see.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And what a perfect one for me to like. Cooperative economics.
Yeah, perfect. We was talking about that. You see, divine order.
Yes, always.
And Kuomba is creativity. So that's a good one for me to light too.
Yes, it is.
And so we will light Kuomba, creativity in the community. Okay. All right, and so the next one is, and they are placed to the left of the black candle. The green candle represents the principles, and Ujamaa, collective work and responsibility, Nia, purpose. Okay, so we'll light Nia, purpose. Wait, did we do Ujamaa? No, Ujamaa, collective work and responsibilities, right? Got it.
Well, let's use
there you go,
one.
yes.
There we go.
Lovely.
Yes.
This one wants to be stubborn.
Yeah, a little. Just
there you go. All right,
it.
lovely. And then Nia is purpose.
Yes.
Purpose.
It's so important for each of us to be able to know that we are here for a purpose.
Exactly. Very well said, Precious. Okay. And then last but not least is Imani, faith. And so the black candle is lit on the first day of the celebration, and the remaining candles are lit afterwards from left to right on the following days, as we did. This procedure is to indicate that the people came first, then the struggle. So the people came first, and then the struggle, and then the hope that comes from the struggle. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. And then the mazoa, I hope I said that right, which are the crops, which are the fruit that you see in the bowl there. And the ears of corn are also placed on the mkeka, which is the mat. At least 2 ears of corn are placed down on the mat, regardless of whether there are children in the immediate family or not for the children, or not for the children of the community belong to all of us. So the children of the community belong to all of us. And every adult in African tradition is considered an immediate. So anyway, we did this wonderful thing. So I want to thank you for coming. And I have to wrap up now. And so I really appreciate you, Precious, coming in, and I wish you all the best. And to our wonderful viewers, your level of consciousness is the gateway to the future. Thank you.